Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you an olive midge. This one's a little different. I'm going to do something a little different with the wings. I'm going to use some stretch tubing. I was out recently. It was cold out. I was fishing over stock trout, but they had already keyed on something that was just in the surface, and I'll talk more about that in a little while. So we're going to do this one on a size 22. So it is truly a midge. I'm going to use olive 8/0 Uni-Thread for the body and some of this black Danville thread for a rib. And here's that stretch tubing. Now this is in the size small. You can play with sizes and hook sizes and match it. I'm going to use a little of that gray poly up between the wings just to give it a little more body up there and maybe a little flotation so it hangs in the surface film. So back to my story while I'm getting the thread started here. Um, I was on a freestone stream. They were stock trout, and they had been in the water probably 6 weeks to maybe 2 months. And for whatever reason, they had keyed on something that was just below the surface, feeding all day long. I stood there. It was frustrating. I touched a few of them with my surface film midge that I had done, and actually I'd used it, and it worked pretty well there last year. But that wasn't the ticket this time. That I did not crack the code. I just got a few to look at it. A couple actually took a bite at them, and it wasn't a super day. Great day to be out though. So here we are just building a tapered body with that olive thread. And I left the black Danville thread on the bobbin, and I'll confess to my, um, I guess I'll call it a mistake here in a little while. But the idea was I'm going to tie that olive thread off. I like the looks of the body there, and we'll hang it over the bobbin cradle. And we'll come back, shorten up the bobbin on the black thread, and just use it for a rib. And it flattens out pretty nice, and uh, if you leave it far enough apart, it does a good job with segmentation. And when you're all done on some of these, I didn't do it on this one because I didn't want to wait for it to dry, but you could apply a little head cement here. All right, and now for my confession. So I throw a few wraps of the olive uni thread over top of the black thread, and the whole idea here was I was going to switch to that black thread and use it so that I got a black head on this midge. But somewhere in my plan and in execution, that didn't happen. So I snipped off the black thread that I used for the rib, and I'm going to finish this with the olive. I don't think it's going to be a big deal because we're going to put a little black or dark olive dubbing up front. And so what I'm doing here is I have that tubing tied in a little towards my side, and I'm going to snip it off on the angle. Now I saw someone else do a tubing midge like this or use it for wings, and my I don't want to call it an improvement, but it makes me feel better was to cut that on an angle and not just straight across. And now I get kind of an emerging wing shape. So I'm going to pull the stub end of that tubing back on the far side. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to snip it off on an angle. I left it a little long at first. I was afraid of making it too short. And now I'll just come back and snip it the way I like it. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, if it may keep a little air in there for a while. These midges, I could not see anything on the surface. I did not see anything hatching. Whatever those trout were taking was just under the surface. There probably were 30 trout there that I fished over for, well, the better part of half a day, and um, I couldn't I couldn't touch them with anything else. Like I said, the surface film midge. I got a couple to bite on that. I didn't put many fish in the net that day. They were small flies and bigger fish, and I lost the couple that I did get to bite. So here we are with just a little of that gray poly in. I'll trim it up in a second. And this is some of that Caddis life cycle dubbing. And I chose the dark olive. Could have just as easily been black, but I wanted a little contrast here. So I'll pull everything out of the way. And I just want a little bulb here on the front. So I'll kind of crisscross the wraps, and then I don't want it to get much bigger, so we'll kind of finish up. Pull everything out of the way. And I'll wrap back away from the eye. And then that way, when we do our whip finish, we can work our way forward. So I don't want that head to get much bigger, so I'm just going to do a 3-turn whip finish. And we're nice and tight. I'll slice off the excess thread. And I'll come back in and snip my poly. I'm going to snip it on an angle. I don't want it to look cut off square. And between the Caddis, the life cycle Caddis dubbing with its little bit of sparkle, and the poly, I think this is going to hang up in the surface film. You could grease this up a little bit if you want to make sure it hangs up higher. You could probably put this as the upper fly on some kind of nymphing rig, and it would look more like it's emerging and less like it's already up there. But that's basically the fly. I'm going to come in with a little head cement, probably a little too much. And once again, that's Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. That'll soak in and firm up the front end of this thing. And that's basically it. Here's a close look. We got a nice segmented body, lots of stuff sticking out in all directions. Hidden in there are those little tubing wings. And I hope that helps you out. And if you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.